How you guys doing today? I'm glad you guys are doing well. I'm a little bit nervous, but that's okay. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my story. Basically, my name is Ryan Shelton. I'm 23 years old. I didn't have the greatest start in life. I was in a foster care group home when I was younger. And due to that, I kind of was propelled into the streets and the negative influences that were in my community. And by age 19, I was incarcerated for the second time, but this time I was facing 6 years. Luckily, God had other plans for me, and I ended up getting sentenced to about a year. The time I spent incarcerated was extremely hard. I had to resist my environment every day. The violence, the racial riots, the feelings of hopelessness. All I could really do was focus on what I was gonna do when I got out. So I remember one day, a little bit after I got sentenced, I was in my cell and I was just feeling really down. And another one of the inmates was like, hey, what's going on, man? How you feeling? And I didn't usually open up too much, but for some reason that day I opened up and I said, I'm just kind of feeling lost. I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get out. I have all these felonies on my record and I just don't know, what kind of job is gonna take me? What kind of career type job is gonna take me? And then, my fellow inmate, he said, don't worry so much about the job. Focus on what kind of man you wanna be when you get out. And those words really resonated with me because I knew I wasn't a bad person. I knew I had made a mistake and I knew I kind of had a rough start, but I knew the kind of man that I wanted to be. So I took those words in mind and I began taking some classes while I was still incarcerated. And one of those classes that I took was called Back on Track. And that class, Back on Track, basically taught inmates how to navigate the employment field with felonies on your record. So basically they told us, the kind of jobs to go for, more manual labor type jobs, certain programs and certain, jobs who are more felon friendly and things of that nature. So I remember that class was really a light in the dark tunnel for me. I remember I would come back from the class, I would walk back to my cell, and I would lay on my steel bunk, and I had this little piece of paper up top. And that piece of paper, it was a small piece of paper, and it had a bunch of goals I had written down on it. And to everybody else, that was just a piece of paper, but to me, that was me reminding myself of who I was and the man that I wanted to be when I got out. So I stayed focused and I really, listened intently to the things they had in the class, and I tried my best to resist all the negative things going on while I was incarcerated. And it was probably about 2 or 3 weeks before I was about to get released. And I remember my instructor telling me, she was like, hey, these are a couple agencies, temp agencies I think you should check out. And, Conservation Corps is something I think you should also check out as well. And I took her advice in mind, and I remember I got out, and the first thing I did was I went to the temp agencies first. And the thing I realized first when I went to the temp agencies was, for a felon, it's pretty much a vicious cycle. I would go to one temp agency, I would have about maybe 4 or 6 weeks worth of work, and then once that work was over, they didn't have any more contracted work for felons, and they didn't know when they were gonna get more. So I'm off to the next temp agency trying to find work, and it really affected me as a man because I felt like part of a man is, coming home and bringing that paycheck home, and I felt like, dang, I did my time, and I can barely bring that paycheck home. I was still on probation, so I still had to make probation payments. And one of the terms of being on probation is you had to have steady employment. So I just felt a constant anxiety and a pressure. And I just felt like, yeah, I'm free, but I don't feel all the way free yet. And I remember one day I was really up to my nose and I was just stressed out. I was about to go cash another small check I had from a temp agency. And for some reason, I just remember what my instructor said. She said Conservation Corps. So I'm like, okay. I was like, I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I remember I put my application in, and within about 2 weeks, I was working and everything. So I was really excited. And the thing for me that really changed for me when I got to Conservation Corps was I was no longer in a situation to where I had to hide the fact that I had a felony or I couldn't talk about it or anything. I was actually around people who were supportive and like, oh, hey, you got felonies, don't worry about it. This is a stepping stone. We're gonna get you to the job you want to get to. And honestly, all that positivity within that community broke down the walls that I had within myself. I had all these walls that I thought that, oh, I have felonies. I can't do that. I can't do this. And eventually, going to work every day and sitting down with my supervisors at lunch and having those conversations about, hey, you know, what do you think I can do about these felonies? And, you know, what do you think my options are? It really gave me the opportunity to break down those walls and then become to open up. So as I opened up emotionally and I started realizing these are things that I actually could do, I started doing more research. I started doing more research about my case, and I realized that, hey, you know, I haven't been doing anything bad at all. If I make all these probation payments, I think I can probably get off probation. I think this is something I can do. So I got really excited about it, and that was my primary focus. Hey, I'm gonna get all these payments paid down, and, you know, I'm gonna try my best to get off probation. And while I was getting ready and prepped to do all that, they had a solar training program that popped up while I was working at Conservation Corps. Didn't know anything about solar, but I knew that I wanted to get into a career. I didn't know if I was going to get off probation. I didn't know if they were going to expunge my record, but I knew that I had to prepare myself anyway. I had to believe it before I saw it. So I started doing a solar training program, and everything was going perfect. I really fell in love with it. I really was doing work that I really loved. I was doing construction. I loved being outside. Everything was great. And more than anything, I was doing work for the environment that I was also doing with Conservation Corps, but this was more of a skilled work, and I felt like, wow, this is really a career. I'm really getting into this. You know, I felt like, hey, I'm in a career, and I have these felonies right now, but maybe they'll be off, you know, when I go to court. So a couple months later, I had my court date coming up. I still remember the date, March 27th, 2018. I went to court, and I remember when I went to court, I had a packet about this thick of letters. You know, I had some letters from my sisters saying all the support that they had from me, but more than anything, I had letters from my supervisors, the Conservation Corps in Long Beach. I had letters from Kendra. You know, I had Dan's support. And I remember the judge looking through the packet, reading everything, and he looked up, and he said, I'm proud of you. You've really turned your life around. You really did a whole lot. And I remember they expunged my record, and they let me off probation. And it was at that point in time where I really felt like I can really take a full turnaround with my life. It was really when I felt like I can make a complete 360. The walls that I had that were holding me in, I could really start breaking down. So now I had my career, my record was expunged, I wasn't on probation anymore, and I was truly free. So with that in mind, while I was still doing the solar training at Grid Alternatives, which was the partner that linked up with Conservation Corps, I started to also think about, hey, you know, maybe I can get in school. You know, I think that's something I can do as well. So I also got in school. So now I'm in school at LA Trade Tech. I'm studying for electrical construction and maintenance. I'll be graduated in 2021 this spring. I'm about 68% done in school, so I'll be done with that pretty soon. And a really great thing that I got to do while I was doing my solar training was, while I'm doing my solar training, there were still other people from Conservation Corps in Long Beach who were still getting their solar training as well. So I was able to be on the roof, working for Grid Alternatives, but still right there with my people from Conservation Corps in Long Beach and telling them, hey, this is the way I went. Everything's going great for me. You can do this too. So honestly, you know, it was the positive community that really fueled me to reach the dreams and destinations that I thought were so far. So more than anything, it was just coming to Conservation Corps and having that positive community that inspired me to say, hey, you know what, I can do these things. People have told me no, they told me I can't do that. I've told myself no, but these people are telling me yes. So I think I can do it. And that was the major turnaround for me. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys listening to me, and I really appreciate the course for everything they've done. One last thing I have to say. Now I am an electrical apprentice, and I work for Zero Solar now. I make about $20 an hour, and I'll be done with school, so everything's great, and I really appreciate everything. So, thank you.